Rhaenyra is one of the main characters in the Targaryen civil war at the heart of the show. Emma Darcy is casted to play her. The casting call described her as King Viserys' chosen heir, a dragon rider who grew up expecting to become the first ruling queen of Westeros. The official description describes her as the king's firstborn child. She is of pure Valyrian blood, and she is a dragon rider. Many would say that Rhaenyra was born with everything, but she was not born a man. Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen cheered as the realm's delight when she was young, and later called the half-year queen, was the firstborn child of King Viserys I Targaryen. Rhaenyra was King Viserys' the first, only living child by his first wife, Queen Aemma of House Arryn. At the age of 8, she was made her father's heir, and grew up expecting to become the first ruling queen of Westeros. Rhaenyra was a dragon rider whose mount was Syrax. Rhaenyra had her family's Valyrian looks, wearing her silver gold hair in a long braid in the manner of Queen Visenya Targaryen. Beautiful as a child, Rhaenyra was later declared by her uncle Prince Daemon Targaryen to be the most beautiful maiden in all the Seven Kingdoms. Due to the lack of a male heir, Viserys designated Rhaenyra as his successor. Therefore, Rhaenyra was the only female Targaryen to lay claim to the Iron Throne in her own right. Since she was raised as the designated heir, Rhaenyra became quite pampered and arrogant, but also gained practical governmental experience. After Rhaenyra's mother died, her father remarried, and had several sons with his second wife, Alicent of House Hightower. Even so, Viserys still publicly expected his daughter to succeed him, and when he died, his official will even stated so. However, Rhaenyra's younger half-brother Aegon challenged her claim. He stated that the normal inheritance laws of the Andals, which formed the basis of the unified law code in Westeros, called for male preference primogeniture, meaning that a younger son would rightfully inherit before an older daughter. At the time of her father's death, Rhaenyra was on Dragonstone awaiting the birth of her child. The Green Sea King's Landing ensured that the news of Viserys' death did not reach her until her own supporters in the Red Keep were dead or imprisoned, and Aegon II's coronation had already occurred. This began a devastating civil war that tore apart the Seven Kingdoms, known as the Dance of the Dragons, as it was the only war in which both sides had dragon riders. Rhaenyra had 2 husbands and 5 sons. Her first husband was Laenor of House Velaryon, son of the Sea Snake, and her second husband was her uncle, Daemon Targaryen the Rogue Prince. And there we come to the second announced lead actor. Matt Smith will play Daemon. George R. R. Martin revealed that Daemon is his favorite Targaryen, so that tells you something about the character. HBO describes the character as the younger brother to King Viserys and heir to the throne. A peerless warrior and a dragon rider, Daemon possesses the true blood of the dragon. But it's said that whenever a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin in the air. Daemon Targaryen, also known as Prince of the City, Lord Fleabottom, and the Rogue Prince, had many titles throughout his life: Prince, Sir, Commander of the City Watch, Master of Coin, Master of Laws, King of the Stepstones and the Heir of Sea, Protector of the Realm. Daemon was the most controversial man of his lifetime, an audacious rogue prince and adventurer who seemed made of good and evil in equal measure. There was never a man so loved and so reviled, and at the same time, as he was. During the Dance of the Dragons, as the husband of his niece Rhaenyra, he supported his wife's claim, and he was considered by many the most dangerous man in Westeros. He was Rhaenyra's second husband, following Sir Laenor Velaryon, and she was his third wife. Prince Daemon was the most experienced warrior of his time, and wielded the Valyrian steel blade Dark Sister. A dragon rider whose dragon was Xerxes, Daemon declared himself the king of the Stepstones and the Heir of Sea. Daemon was a skilled warrior, described in the histories as dashing, daring, and dangerous. He was also ambitious, impetuous, mercurial, amoral, reckless, and quick to take offense. He is described as being as charming as he was hot-tempered. Daemon's most epic moment comes from the most epic dragon battle, the battle above the God's Eye, between 2 most dangerous warriors at that time, Daemon and Aemond Targaryen and their 2 dragons, which also were the strongest of all, Vhagar and Xerxes. Daemon challenged Aemond, waiting for 13 days at Harrenhal, until Aemond stopped burning the Riverlands to come to face him. When Xerxes attacked Vhagar, she ripped upon his stomach and tore one of his wings. But then Xerxes fastened his jaws around her throat in death grip. These injuries forced them both to cease flying, and as they tumbled to the water below, Daemon dueled Aemon to death. As he never fastened his saddle, Daemon stood up on Xerxes and leapt at Aemond, whereupon he drove his dark sister through Aemond's eye and through his neck, just a second before hitting the water. The battle above the god's eye ended in the deaths of both riders and both dragons. Daemon was 49 when he died. Unlike Aemond's body, however, Daemon's was never found. Singers say that Daemon lived to spend the rest of his days in secret with Nettles, but most historians disagree. Last but not the least, HBO also announced that Olivia Cooke is also a lead actor, casted to play Alicent Hightower. Alicent Hightower is described as the daughter of Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King, and the most comely woman in the Seven Kingdoms. She was raised in the Red Keep, close to the king and his innermost circle. She possesses both a courtly grace and a keen political acumen. Alicent Hightower was a member of House Hightower, who became the second wife to King Viserys I Targaryen, and therefore a queen of the Targaryen dynasty. She was the daughter of Sir Otto Hightower, who had been the hand of the king to Jaehaerys I, Viserys I, and later his grandson Aegon II. She was the mother of King Aegon II, Queen Helena, Prince Aemond, and Prince Daeron. Alicent Hightower was in many ways the true leader of Aegon II's faction during the Dance of the Dragons. At first, young Rhaenyra and Alicent got along well, but the rift grew between them as soon as Alicent produced her own children for Viserys I, and clearly wanted them to succeed to the throne instead of her. Alicent bore Viserys I 4 children: Aegon II, Aemon the One-Eye, Daeron the Daring, and Helena, who became the sister wife of Aegon II. Over the years of Viserys I's reign, despite his best efforts, a bitter rivalry grew between Alicent and Rhaenyra at court, as well as between their rival factions of supporters. In 111 AC, a great tourney was held at King's Landing, on the 5th anniversary of the king's marriage to Queen Alicent. At the opening feast, Alicent wore a green gown, while Princess Rhaenyra dressed in Targaryen red and black. Soon afterward, their respective followers started dressing in similar colors and styles, to display their political allegiance. Rhaenyra's faction, the princess's followers, wore black clothing, and Alicent's faction, the queen's followers, wore green clothing. Ultimately, this inspired the nicknames for the two factions, the Blacks and the Greens. Viserys I publicly and repeatedly made the great lords of the realm swear oaths that Rhaenyra would succeed him on the Iron Throne, as the first ruling queen. A matter of hours after Viserys I died in his sleep, however, Alicent staged a coup, one that she had been long planning to define details. One night, a servant found the old king had died in his sleep, and ran to inform Queen Alicent. Protocol dictated that the bells would be rung. Everyone notified and a raven sent to Dragonstone to summon the heir, Princess Rhaenyra, for her coronation. But Alicent had other plans. Once she saw her dead husband's body, she sealed the room, and had the servant thrown into the black cells to ensure his silence. According to Mushroom, who was away with Rhaenyra Targaryen on Dragonstone, Alicent poisoned Viserys' drink. True or not, instead of announcing Viserys' I's death immediately, Alicent warned Sir Criston Cole, now Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and together they called the Small Council to discuss the succession, where plans were made to crown Alicent's son Prince Aegon instead of Princess Rhaenyra, who had been Viserys' heir. Poisoned Viserys' drink. True or not, instead of announcing Viserys' I's death immediately, Alicent warned Sir Criston Cole, now Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and together they called the Small Council to discuss the succession, where plans were made to crown Alicent's son Prince Aegon instead of Princess Rhaenyra, who had been Viserys' heir. This started the Targaryen Civil War, which will be the key event of the upcoming Game of Thrones prequel House of the Dragon. We also know the directors for the first season. In addition to Game of Thrones veteran Miguel Sapochnik, who's serving as showrunner along with Ryan Condal, the directing team will also include Claire Kilner, Jira Patel, and Greg Yaitnes. The first season is confirmed to consist of 10 episodes. House of the Dragon is coming. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.